Welcome to an edition of Big Ben and Ty Sports Cave. I am Big Ben, and over there is Ty. We're doing a special edition today because I gotta do something later on. So stick around again for the hockey portion of the show, which is going to be 4 o'clock Central. With that said, there's been a lot of racing news coming up and whatnot. There was some big not back and forth with uh, the 32 car. I'm getting brain freeze because I'm uh, Pierce and the other guy for basically it was a lot of you know back and forth like rubbing. But rubbing is racing, but nevertheless, that was a good show. Uh, Farmer City was canceled due to the weather because they basically have turns 1 and 2 full of water. So that was canceled last night. But again, this is going to be a short show. So I'll be tonight locally. We have Fairbury and Spoon. And with Fairbury, opening night, everybody. Gates open at 2, drivers meeting 4:30, hot laps at 5, racing to follow. They're going to have late models, modified stock cars, and pro mods, $15 at the gate. Kids 12 and under free, 35 at pits. Kids 12 and under 15. And they started up the 1 hour for the season opener because Fairbury officials decided to start the time early. Has been moved up 1 hour to maximize the best racing program we could put together. We have seen this before at the Fairbury Speedway. Owner Matt Curl conveys. The grounds are perfect. The track is perfect. The excitement in the air for opening night is great, and we just wanted to make sure we have the best program to allow our drivers, fans, and sponsors the best possible racing. And it's going to be a cooler track, so they're hoping that'll work out. They kick off their 80th season tonight with a Falls Cup action. Dirt Late Models Division paying $2,500 to win. Modifieds get $1,500. Stock cars $750. And the Pro Mods, which is a new addition to Fairbury, is getting $400 to win. Drivers finishing in the top 10 in points in 2025 will have food available and can pick up their trophies from 3:30 to 4:30 at the Flora Hall building located across from the new office building. Come check out the all-new backstretch speakers and don't miss our newest menu item, the Walking Taco. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty good there because you're going to have Fager there, I seen is going to be there. You're going to have Mike Provenzano there. You're going to have Flatland Flash, Kevin Weaver there. Whole bunch of other locals there at Fairbury. And Fairbury is a really good track. I love it a lot. It's one of my favorites, if not the favorite. No offense to my local track. I love that too, Peoria. It's just there's just something just a little bit extra that I like about it.
Well, Fairbury just has, the legacy.
Yeah, and the legacy too. Yeah.
I mean, Fairbury is just it's hard to compete with Fairbury. They have so much support in the local scene, and like the whole town gets behind that track. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's hard to compete with that. You got some tracks that you have your supporters, but like that whole town has
support. They have their back. Yeah, because when they have their special race at the end of the year, the Prairie Dirt Classic, they'll have
the end of the year, but
close to the end of the year. Never, my point being is it's towards the end of the year. But they also like have the cars, like they have a car show at the local grocery store like a day or two before, where they actually let the cars drive through town to go there and park the cars. And then when the driver wins the race at the Prairie Dirt Classic, they let the driver drive the car across town to the local bank, to do photo shoot and everything. And And then, there are a few people that are be like, oh, it's too loud. It's like, hey, you move there knowing there's a track right next door. You can't complain.
Hey, Sean, right now we'll be talking dirt track racing. Join us now, but me and Wade will be on later at 4:00 to discuss hockey.
So yeah, again, it's a good track. $15, can't beat that. And you got good racing.
Yeah, it's good racing. I mean, Fairbury is it's superior. Like I said, nothing against the other tracks around here. It's just so Fairbury is just so. I can't even describe how Fairbury is. I mean, it's just, I want to say it's like a magical place. I mean, it just is. I loved racing there. I would love to still race there if I had the opportunity. They just don't have my class there anymore. So, and my car is not technically legal in their rules for the class. Yeah. So I mean, just Fairbury is just superior in Central Illinois. I mean, you could be talking to somebody from like Georgia or whatever, and you say, oh well, I go to Fairbury. They know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
I mean, Fairbury is nationwide recognized, kind of like Eldora. I mean, you talk about Eldora, you talk about Fairbury. I mean, it's so much better than a lot of these tracks, and they've always had a reputation on putting a good show, a great show.
Right. So, yeah, no offense to all the tracks. It's just, it seems like their track prep is a little bit better. I have not seen that track be bad rutted up once. I mean,
I have a few. I mean, I've seen it rough a few times. I mean, when I raced there like 4 years ago, they had a night where it had a lot of character in it, and we broke some stuff, and it's just one of those nights where it's gonna be rutted up. There's some nights that you're gonna have that. I mean, you rarely see a dusty Fairbury either. I mean, usually it's flat out, flat footing all night long.
And I park right by the track too when I go, and I rarely see a layer of dust on my windshield when I get done at Fairbury. Whereas other tracks, I'll come and I'll be like doing my windshield wipers, and you'll just see dust flying all over the place.
And I guess the advantage that Fairbury has too is they actually have 2 people on staff that's what they do. They're there to do the grounds. They're there to, Matt Curl has made it into a business. So it's not like volunteers where Farmer City has volunteers, Peoria has volunteers, Spoon River has volunteers. So, you can only do so much with volunteers. Fairbury has made 2 full-time people.
Right.
For that. So, like I said, Fairbury is just,
and that's their job. So all week long, they're out there tilling, putting new dirt on, watering it, making sure it's the right angle and race surface. Yeah. And another thing I liked about Fairbury, and you mentioned it too, is basically Matt is like, hey, you need to do what we say or else you're gone, so to speak, for better lack of terms, when it comes to the drivers. Because if you don't line up when the official tells you, you get sent to the back. And he don't play favorites either. Because I think you said there's been times where he had his brother get sent to the back because he wasn't listening.
Yeah. I mean, he tells us in the drivers' meeting. I mean, Matt Curl pretty much tells us he's not going to deal with bull crap. And I've even listened to him on the race monitor thing that us drivers have to wear. And if they start getting a little too, banging and bashing, he'll come over and he said, all right, guys, you got 5 more laps, or, this race is done. Respect one another out there. And that's how it is. And that's how it needs to be. There's a lot of drivers out there that just has lost that respect
right.
for their fellow racers. I mean, you got guys that are purposely just driving them into the wall. And, like I've always been taught, give them respect until they disrespect you. That's pretty much how it is. I try to give people space. I try to race clean. Has there been a few times where I've had to show my nose or whatever? Of course everybody has.
Right.
So yeah, like Fairbury does not put up with the extra bull crap. That is pretty much what we're trying to say. And
with all,
they can't,
Right. And with all that said, and I think another reason why I like it is because it seems like their program runs smooth throughout the night. It's like they'll get all the drivers, they'll do it. And then with what Ty just said, Matt or the officials will be like, hey, tighten up or you're gone, to make the program smoother. And there's times like you just seen there's what did I say, four or five cars or classes, and they'll have, like, with just 4 classes alone, they'll have 80 to 100 cars sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, they've always have a good field of cars. I mean, late models, a lot of tracks are struggling to get cars. They are. And part of that problem is just the expense. Right. So Fairbury averages around 20 late models a night. That's a good field. Even if they only have 15 cars, that's a good field in today's world.
Right.
Modifieds, they get, 20.
A lot. Yeah.
25 maybe.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see how many pro mods actually show up tonight. That's going to be interesting to see, since it is a new class for them. Because they ran the hobby mods the last however many years, and it is different. So I'm kind of anxious to see how many they get over there for the pro mod division. Usually street stocks, they get about 15, and so like I said, it's hard to get cars nowadays.
Yeah, and the thing is, they get done. There's been many times where they'll have that 100 cars and they'll get done at 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah, because Matt doesn't jack around.
Whereas other tracks, and again, no offense to those other tracks, they'll have 5-6 classes in the same amount of cars, but it'll be 11 o'clock before they get done.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, you have the same car count and you can get it done. But anyway, my point being is Fairbury is a good track. If you go to Fairbury for your first time, you will be hooked on dirt track racing. I will give it that. I will say that. That's how good this track is.
Yeah.
So with all that said.
And then, like I said, if you can't make it tonight, it is on Flow.
Exactly. So, yeah, and Flow's good. I've liked Flow. I like them both, Flow and Dirt Vision, but I know there's the qualms between the two, but I just watch it for the racing. I can care less about the announcers, things of that nature. If I can just see dirt track racing, I'll be fine. I care less who the announcer is, because I know some people complain about that. But you got anything else to say about Fairbury before we go to Spoon?
I don't think so. Like I said, if you've never been to Fairbury, try to get there. I mean, it is right. It's a different place. It's a different animal. And you won't be disappointed. It's family oriented, family friendly, and it's a really good track.
Because they always have stuff for family and kids all the time. They'll have on the front stretch in between the track and the grandstands, they'll have like a money thing throughout the year where the kids, dash for cash type thing in different age divisions.
Well, they actually try to do it on the track itself.
Right.
There's just been a few times where they've had to have it on the horse track, but they try to do it on the track itself.
Yeah, my point being is they have family friendly stuff all the time. I see kids all the time at the bottom in the grandstand area on the front stretch. In those little concrete pads, they'll be pretending they're racing around the track with their cars, and then I'll see a couple kids with a full set of flags pretending to be the flag man, and it's just so cool to see stuff like that. And that's a way to get kids into dirt track racing, is just to take them and just let them have fun while they're watching the races, and they'll end up enjoying it. Because that's how I started liking racing, because my dad took me a couple times to Fairbury, and I loved the racing, but at the same time I was still playing with my cars and whatnot, and that's why I like racing today, because my dad took me. And let's just put it this way: it's a hobby. If you don't want your kid, and people say it, but if you don't want your kids in drugs, get them into racing, because they won't have enough money for drugs. They'll be spending all their money on their car,
Yeah, I was born into it, so.
Yeah, you're like, what'd you say the other day?
I'm technically I'm technically a third generation.
Yeah. Because you got Killer, you, Mike.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a good track, so we'll be showcasing them throughout this season, and many, many other tracks. So with that said, we will go to Spoon opening night as well. It's the meet the drivers night. You get to walk the pits and meet drivers. You get signed. You get hero cards, stickers, whatever. And see, that's another thing I like about dirt track racing, but I'll get to that once we get done with this. But it's 5 to 6:15 is the meeting. Gates open at 3, grandstands at 5, pit draw ends at 5:30, hot lap at 6:30. Racing to follow, kids 12 and under are getting free, and they also get a free flag. Checker flag. Grandstands are 15, which is pretty cool, because last year they were 20. Kids 12 and under free, pit passes 35. Kids 12 and under in the pits is 20. Now, with that said, Spoon is another track I really enjoy, because it's wide and it's banked. And I like wide and banked tracks. Nothing wrong with the bull rings. I like those too, but there's just something about seeing late models or even sprints, whatever, ripping around those corners 4 wide and not even wrecking. And that's one thing I like about Spoon, because of it being wide and banked. They can get ripping around that track and be 4 wide all night long. And have you've raced here before, right? Or have?
Yeah, I've raced at Spoon a few times. It's different. Very high banked. I grew up at Spoon River. My first race was when I was 2 weeks old, at Spoon River. My grandfather raced Spoon River for years.
Upon years, yeah. And
we're based. Yeah, we're based out of Eureka, and you would have thought we would have went to Fairbury or went to Peoria, but no, we'd always go down to Spoon River, and that was the longest travel. Peoria would have been closer, Fairbury would have been closer, but no, Grandpa really liked racing down Spoon River. So we'd go to Spoon River, and my grandfather raced, my uncle raced there. I got to race Spoon for the first time. I think it was 5 years ago, maybe. But it's totally different animal. I loved it. I would love to race Spoon River again. It's one of the smoothest tracks I've ever been on.
Yeah.
Because of the clay. It's not really dirt. It's more clayish. But yeah, it's really smooth, high banked. I mean, you got to have a set of cojones if you want to run the high side at Spoon River. And I ran the high side a few times. And I remember that night the car just didn't want to do what I wanted it to do, so I had to put it on the bottom. And I think I missed a transfer spot by one, I think, that night I went. So, yeah, no, Spoon River has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, and I've been there many times in the pits and in the stands, and I did help Killer with a few times with your Uncle Alan and him, you know, with his late model, which was really cool experience. I personally consider, and it might be controversial or maybe weird, but I kind of consider Spoon River like a mini Eldora.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Because of the high bank and the wideness. You know. And I love Eldora. The first time I was at Eldora, I walk in through the front and at Eldora they got the food court area right behind the grandstands. I got up there and I was at the very top. I was looking out at track. My jaw just dropped and I started like drooling where I needed a drool bucket because I was like so enthralled with it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be some good racing. And all I did was just see the track. And sure enough, I seen great racing there. But that's another track for another show. And we will also, besides the local tracks, and I'll reiterate this since it's a straight racing show today, we're going to be doing Spoon River, Peoria, Fairbury, Farmer City, and Lincoln. With the exception of if there's like a big race at another track outside of our area. You know, like if it's like the World or the Show Me 100 or even in into June, beginning of July, all through July, Summer Nationals. We'll be covering those because Summer Nationals is my favorite short, so to speak, touring series. Because there's a reason why they call it the Hell Tour for a reason. Because you literally do what, like 25 races in 23 days or something like that?
Well, you do 25 races in like 30
or 20
31 days or something like that. I mean, it's
basically you basically what I'm saying is you race a race every single day for a month straight.
Pretty much. I think they only get they get Mondays off. I think.
Right.
Thing with Summer Nationals is the numbers for them have dropped drastically.
I have noticed that a little bit.
You get like a couple nights where it's really good, and then like when they go down to Missouri, like in like the boondocks down there, they might get like 15 late models, for the Summer Nationals. You know, and I hate to say this, but the series that could almost take over and make the Summer Nationals irrelevant would be the Mars series.
Yeah, I was just about to say something about the Mars series. That's another great series.
Just the Mars series has, ever since Matt Curl took over, everything he's touched, man, it's almost turned to gold.
Yeah, so yeah.
He's a hell of a promoter. He, like I said, he owns Fairbury. That's why we talk highly of Fairbury. But the Summer Nationals are not what they used to be.
Right.
I remember the Summer Nationals back in the late 90s, even when I was a little kid, you always had, you had your Moyer, you had your Babs, you had your Herb Jr., you had,
even
like Richie Hendrick and all that, like
Blue Quest even raced it this whole series a couple times.
Yeah. So like and the reason why I kind of bring that up too is it's sad that Spoon River doesn't have a Summer National race this year.
I did notice that.
Yeah, I don't know why, and you can only speculate, but it's sad to not see a Summer National race at Spoon River. Spoon River is, I mean, everybody likes Spoon River as a racer. Most, all the racers I've talking to likes Spoon River. So, I'd rather have them have a Summer National Tour, but it just seems like I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's a scheduling conflict. I don't know what's exactly happening with that. So,
I mean, even with the Mars series, didn't you say the other day that basically Matt rented the track out just so there can be that Mars race at Spoon?
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why they're having a Mars race. The Flow, or no, it's the Flow Night in America, I believe it is.
Yeah, Flow Night in America, yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this weekend. But next weekend, there's going to be tons more tracks we're going to go through because that's when pretty much every track is going to be racing. Peoria, Fairbury, Spoon, whatnot. So yeah. Again, thanks for stopping by. This is going to be a short show. Because we kind of Ty and I wanted to separate it because I have to be somewhere later on. So I won't be on the hockey show. That's at 4:00. So here in another 3 hours, go get yourself a lunch, come back and watch the hockey cast because, hey, the Rivermen are up 2-0 in the championship game. And the game Wednesday night could be the last one. We could be raising the cup.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hope. I mean, I know a lot of guys, they want them to win it on home ice. And I would love them to win it on home ice. But, I mean, I just don't want them going to Game 5 with Evansville. I mean, Evansville is going to be tough. So, but yeah, we're going to be talking more about that. Like I said, at 4:00 Central Time. Me and Wade will be on. Like I said, Big Ben has some other things he's got to take care of. So, like I said, come back at 4 o'clock, around 4:00. We'll try to start at 4:00 for the hockey show, and join me and Wade as we talk a little bit about Rivermen hockey, and hopefully we win the championship.
So with that said, for going around the pit area, and I think I'm going to call that our ending segment because, at the end of the races, you get to go around the pit area and you get to talk with drivers, talk about things, what happened and whatnot. And that's why I'm saying, because we're just doing all. I want it to be called that so that way it's like, hey, we're talking about the race afterwards. We're catching up. We're learning new things and reiterating things, and that's why I wanted to call it that. But it might be that, it might not. But anyway, my point being is you got Fairbury, you got Spoon River tonight. Fairbury, if you can't make it, it's going to be on Flow. Spoon River, there we go. 2,500 to win, 1,500 to win for the modifieds. It's going to be a good race. You're going, as you see right there, there's going to be Ryan Unzicker there, which, in fact, a little tidbit. Jake Montgomery, he's a B-mod racer over at Peoria, but he races other tracks that run B-mods. He was at Kankakee last night, and he was having like some fuel issues or some kind of issue with the car. And Ryan Unzicker stepped up and helped him get that car, and he had a clean sweep that night at Kankakee last night.
Well, I mean, that's another thing at Fairbury, too. A lot of the drivers will help other drivers out. That's another thing I wanted to say about Fairbury. It's like family over there. They will help out when they can. So,
yeah, when I tried to race my Hornet over there years upon years ago, it was just me and what's up, Ryan? It was just me and another friend there, and I couldn't figure out why my car wasn't starting. There was like instantly the guy comes over, is like, "What's wrong?" It's like, I can't start it for some reason. So there was like 3 or 4 guys just thrashing around the engine of the car trying to figure out what's wrong, while I was like, going to the pit thing saying, "Hey, put me in the back, just in case if I didn't show up and whatnot." And like I said, they'll help you. They'll be competitive, of course. They won't give you secrets, but they'll at least help you get the car running so that way you can at least race and have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying other tracks do it, but it just seems more prevalent at Fairbury.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's really all I have to say. Like I said, join me and Wade at 4:00 Central today. We'll talk hockey. Before we actually wrap up too, like I said, my condolences go out to Steve Stanton's family and friends. I know the funeral,
Yes.
I believe, is tomorrow. You guys are in my thoughts and prayers. So,
Exactly.
Safe travels if you are traveling. Also, so like I said, I wanted to say that before we wrapped up the racing part, because Steve loved racing. And
he was a Macon. He always went to Macon all the time, Lincoln all the time.
So
he always loved racing. He raced. He helped out with in the pits on other drivers, and he had that old school mentality with it, and that's what I liked about him, was because he was an old school racer, and I got to hear stories about what they did back in the day, and that, So again, thoughts and prayers to Steve Stanton, family and friends. And I know I can't speak for Ty, but I might be able to. But our DMs are always open if you want to talk about it, because you're like getting so distraught. Hey, we'll listen. Because we both know what it feels like having a loved one pass.
Yep.
So with that said, I'm Big Ben. That's Ty. You'll see Ty at 4:00. So in 3 hours for hockey. 4 hours?
No, I'm just saying at 4. At 4.
4 Central. So in 3 hours.
Yeah, 4 Central. 3 hours.
Anyway, sorry about this. I haven't actually hosted in a while because during the hockey, Ty's the host. So it'll get better. And sorry about the hiccups. But nevertheless, take care. And we always do this podcast, the racing version, dirt track style. So have a great day, everybody.
Yep. We'll see you at 4 Central.